Once upon a time, they'd had a program of distributing mosquito nets, and they would send people on bikes to go round to the different villages to say, tomorrow the mosquito nets are coming, come and get them. Now, they can send a text message to say, come and get them. And 75,000 mosquito nets were distributed through this network. So that is certainly one way. Or take, for example, the work I've been talking with the World Food Programme. And they are starting to use mobile phones as a way of delivering aid of people after disasters. Instead of bringing food in and perhaps distorting the market, actually instead giving people mobile phones with a credit on to buy food with two conditions. One, it has to be locally sourced and it has to be nutritious. And that in itself helps the wider economy, because people who are not in the famine zone but just on the edge of it can actually sell food rather than it just coming in from milk mountains in Europe. But at the same time, I was saying to them, you can also send on that same phone text messages like, have you immunized your baby? So many of the people that the World Food Programme deal with think that the best way to feed a starving child is to give them lots of one thing, lots of rice. Just as long as they have lots of one food. The World Food Programme, because they don't know any better. No one's told them. The World Food Programme is now trying to educate them with the idea of, a mixed diet is better for your child. Again, if you're giving them credit on the phone, you can also send them text messages which transmit these messages. It's
interesting to see the success.
Tool.
The success already over here of services like Text Your Baby, where your people sign up to a service and are then getting very frequent reminders of different things they should be doing at a different point in a pregnancy or in early childhood or whatever. And there just seems like enormous potential to use those techniques in the developing world to help provide information and actually get things done that can't be done by traditional methods of distribution of information. But we were talking a bit about microcredit and microfinance and the rise of M-Pesa, which is mobile money, which I guess has really only gone very big in Kenya so far, but it's starting to spread. But where do you see the potential there?
Well, M-Pesa, I'm sure this audience knows, is about money transfers. It's not credit, because a mobile phone company is not a bank and can't give credit, but mobile credit is obviously something that I'm very interested in, and one of the things that we're hoping to do is to commission a report, just like we've done with the mobile phones, to work out the best schemes that are delivering small amounts of credit to the poor and the unbanked to help them get the advantages that access to credit we take for granted. But M-Pesa is a wonderful tool. We have a project, my foundation has a project in Kenya where women are trained to run a business in a box, we call it, which is about selling solar bulbs which will light one room in a small rural village or in a slum in Kenya. And those women have been buying and selling those bulbs using the mobile phone. Now, M-Pesa means, therefore, they don't have to carry money, so they're less vulnerable to being attacked for money. It also means that when they earn their money mainly to support their families, often back in their rural villages. And once upon a time, that money, that $20 that they may have earned that they want to send back to their mother who's looking after their children, they would have to give it to the local bus driver or someone else, and they would take a bit, and whether it got home or not would really depend on the goodwill of that person. Now, using M-Pesa, they can, with a simple text message, they can text the money back to the village, straight into the hands of the person they want to receive it. It's a very powerful tool. We've also seen experiments now with governments paying government workers using transfers on mobile phones, and suddenly people are finding that they're actually being paid more than they ever have been paid before. Why? Because other systems of payments have always led the middlemen to take their cut. Going direct in this way can really get the money to the people who are supposed to be the recipients of it.
Okay, we're going to take questions from the audience in a moment, so please be thinking some up. But just briefly to talk about your internet-based mentoring initiative that you've got.
Well, of course, I've been going on about mobile phone, but my original idea was about the internet. And so I've been looking at ways of connecting this huge body, particularly among women, but men and women in the developed world who want to actually help women who are wanting to improve themselves, set up their businesses. And with the help of Google, we have pioneered and set up a global mentoring platform whereby people in the developed world can actually mentor over a year a woman with a business in the developing world, particularly in our case in the Middle East and in Africa and in Asia.
So what does that involve doing?
That involves a relationship. We ask you to commit for an hour every 2 weeks, but that hour may not be at 1 hour all at a time. It may be in blocks. And using the internet, then helping. Let me give you an example. We had a woman in one of my business centers that I run in Palestine who was a cook. She had a small business that she was running out of her home, doing traditional baking and foods. She wanted to set up a restaurant. Her male mentor in Britain helped her develop a business plan to do that, helped her source from the YMCA.
Wasn't Gordon Ramsay? No.
No. No, it was someone not famous at all, but he wanted to help. Helped her source the YMCA, gave her a $5,000 loan to start her business, and then helped her actually set up that business all over the internet. Now, the extraordinary thing about that was, not only did he feel fantastic about having helped her, but he couldn't have done that face-to-face because she, as a Palestinian woman, could not have been alone in the room with a man who is not her husband. So that in itself was incredible. And we also learned some other advantages about mentoring using the net. Often if you mentored me, I came and met you and we talked, and I'd have a problem, you would probably feel obliged to give me an answer as we spoke. If we do it over the web, I can say, I've got this problem. You can actually go away and think about it before you respond in your own time. And there's sometimes, therefore, you might actually have more considered, more focused responses. I was very interested to see the previous discussion about the website where you can go in for your causes. Because we're trying to do this too with our mentoring website, in that we're starting to set goals for our mentor relationships and have sort of little competitions about who's achieving those goals better. And all the sort of things that you can do with imagination and technology can really enable you to have a personal relationship over the internet and really get an insight and help someone who otherwise might not have a mentor at all. One of the things I say to women who might want to mentor is that the women that we're helping in the developing world may not actually see another woman doing a business like they're doing. They certainly may not be able to talk to men who are doing that business. And so to be able to have that personal contact and that feeling that you're not alone, and that you actually have someone who is encouraging you and cares about you and is helping you, is an extraordinarily powerful thing.
Now, questions. There's someone at the front there. The mic coming. If you'd say who you are, it'd be great.
Michael Smolens from .sub. While you're dealing with the issues of literacy and connectivity, a major problem, as you know, is the fact that there's very little content and information available in native languages. So even if they get the connectivity and they're literate, most of the content on the web is in English. So in parallel, there needs to be lots of efforts to make their local languages available. And I just want to know if you're aware of the Girl Effect program.
Absolutely.
Because that's something they're aiming to impact 50 million girls in the developing world a year, age 12. So that obviously will be feeding into the whole network.
The Girl Effect, the Nike program, is fantastic. But you're also right about the languages. And one of the things about the MWomen project is that it isn't just about the industry. And it isn't just about governments like the State Department or bodies like Helen Clark and the UNDP, or also ambassadors for the program. It's also about using NGOs and people on the ground. Now, there are many people who have great literacy programs already, and the idea is to use those programs, translate them into a way that can be communicated by text message, and then actually take these successful programs to scale. So this isn't just about my foundation doing what we do, it's about bringing in lots of NGOs and other people who already have good programs and taking it to scale, because that's exactly what the internet can do for you.
We got another question. Lady in front. Yeah. There's a mic just coming to you.
Dawn, Barbara, I think what you're doing is fantastic, so congratulations on that. But I just also wanted to ask you, so, you know, there's mentors all over the world, but also, are you harnessing the technology for them to help each other or to form groups and maybe give themselves information back and forth that, you know, in some ways might even be more relevant?
Yeah.
They sort of know their own problems.
No, absolutely. The platform is very much geared, it's not geared to being the latest gizmo. We use the Google basic tools which are available to everybody. It's much more about the relationships. So we have the individual mentoring, we also have some group mentors, we have resource materials that anyone can access. We also have sites where you can actually talk to each other. And so it's about developing a community. I have a long-term vision that from that we can actually start encouraging the people to trade with each other. But we're just starting this platform, and it's just a beginning. And as you know, when you get some committed women and set them free to be able to go where their talents take them, who knows where we'll end up. Now, please come and look and join us, because we're looking for some more mentors. I tell you, last week, the person who runs my mentoring program went to train. We thought 20 more mentees in Kenya. 60 turned up. So wherever we go, there are more people who want this service, and the more people we have who are prepared to commit for a year would be fantastic.
So we had one more question on the left there. Again, please say who you are.
Hi, my name is Trina Dasgupta. I'm from the GSMA MWomen program, and we're very grateful to have Cherie as our ambassador. But what I wanted to ask you is what you would hope for from the technology community and the influencers and thought leaders in this room to further your mission of for helping women via technology.
Well, there's a number of things actually I'd ask you to do, and we actually have a charter, the MWomen Charter, which is about, you know, somebody just before was talking about it being seen as a human right. It was Jared, wasn't it, to be connected. Sign up to say that, you know, women.
So where's that? Is that on a website?
That's on. If you look at the MWomen program website, there's a charter there, and you can sign that. Talk to people about. It's not just about women in business. It's about women in literacy, women in health, women in finance.
But you've got all these social media and technology experts here, and companies, major companies represented. What's the biggest thing that you need from them as well to help accelerate? The
reason I was so pleased to be invited here, it was actually about your ideas, because you know, we're doing. I like to think that I'm a techie, but compared to the people in this room, of course, I'm fairly basic techie. And just to see what you're doing now and what the latest things are, so that we can start thinking about how can I use that in the work that I am doing. Because a lot of this stuff, of course, is designed for people with with access to fancier machines and better reliable electricity supply. But there are lots of other things that we can do to translate that down to even the poorest person in the middle of rural Africa. They too can be part of this revolution.
Great. Well, unfortunately, our time is up, and you have to go, I know. So, Cherie Blair, thank you very much for inspiring us.